What if I told you that the most viral fight in WNBA history wasn't actually about basketball? What if Sophie Cunningham's explosive moment that gained her 1 million followers overnight was actually her standing up to a league-wide conspiracy against Caitlin Clark? What if Sophie just confessed the entire truth in a podcast interview that's about to blow up the WNBA forever? Hold on to your seats because we're about to expose the biggest scandal in women's basketball, and by the end of this video, you'll never look at that viral fight the same way again. Here's what the WNBA doesn't want you to know. While everyone celebrates Caitlin Clark as the face of women's basketball, behind closed doors, veteran players have been orchestrating a systematic campaign to break her spirit, and Sophie Cunningham just exposed it all. Sophie drops an absolute bombshell about what really happens in WNBA locker rooms. She reveals that teams are literally having meetings about how to target Clark.
You have seen players in our league try to toughen up Caitlin. We call her Cece. Cece. For even when I wasn't on her team, I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of no, we're gonna show her what the W really is. You know what I mean?
We're talking about grown professional athletes sitting around planning how to intimidate a 22-year-old rookie. But here's the kicker. This isn't just tough love or normal rookie treatment. Sophie admits that Clark is getting special treatment, but not the good kind. Veterans are going extra hard on her specifically because of her fame and success. Think about that for a second. The league's biggest star, the player bringing in millions of new fans, is being systematically bullied by her own peers, and the league has been covering it up. Now, here's where it gets personal for Sophie. As Clark's teammate, she's witnessing this abuse firsthand, and she's reaching her breaking point. Sophie makes a shocking admission. Even in Clark's second year, veterans are still targeting her with excessive aggression. This isn't rookie hazing anymore. This is straight up harassment. But the moment that changes everything comes when Sophie, one of the toughest players in the league, says the treatment has gone too much. When a fighter like Sophie says it's excessive, something is seriously wrong, she's watching her teammate get disrespected, fouled hard, and targeted every single game, and she's getting angrier by the minute. The question isn't whether Sophie was going to snap. The question was when. Fast forward to that infamous game against Connecticut Sun. Sophie sets the scene. It was one thing after another. Connecticut wasn't just playing basketball, they were sending a message. Sophie reveals that Connecticut players were doing extra stuff. Chippy talking, unnecessary contact, all aimed at getting under Clark's skin. They thought they could bully the league's biggest star without consequences. They were wrong. But here's what makes this even more infuriating. The referees were letting it happen. Sophie exposes how Clark was getting hammered with no calls, while she would get ejected for the same contact. The fix was in, and everyone knew it. Sophie is watching her teammate get mugged on national television, and the officials are looking the other way. The anger is building. The frustration is mounting. And then comes the moment that breaks the internet. Sophie is running back on defense. Her team is winning. She doesn't need to make a play. The smart basketball move is to let it go. But then comes the moment that defines her career. Last-second intrusive thoughts. I was like, face me, this isn't a basketball play anymore. This is Sophie Cunningham sending a message to the entire WNBA. Touch my teammate and you deal with me. When multiple Connecticut players come at her, Sophie's response is legendary. She's ready to take on the whole team because she's defending something bigger than basketball. She's defending justice. What happens next proves this was always about protecting Clark. Sophie reveals Clark's reaction in the locker room, and it's everything you need to know about this story. Clark basically says, finally, someone stood up for her. Finally, someone had her back. Finally, someone said, enough is enough. Sophie responds with 3 words that sum up everything. I got you. Sophie reveals that the fight actually brought the entire Indiana Fever team together. Her stand for Clark united the locker room and sent a clear message: we protect our own. What happened next was unprecedented. Sophie reveals she went from 350,000 followers to over 1 million overnight across all platforms. But why? Because fans recognized what really happened. This wasn't just a random fight. This was a hero standing up to bullies. This was justice in action. The internet doesn't usually reward violence, but they reward standing up for what's right. And everyone could see that Sophie was fighting for something bigger than herself. Sophie reflects on the moment with an almost spiritual perspective. Maybe this was exactly where she was supposed to be. Here's the truth that changes everything about Sophie Cunningham's viral moment. This wasn't a random fight. This wasn't a loss of temper. This was a calculated stand against institutional bullying. Sophie became Caitlin Clark's shield when the league failed to protect its biggest star. She became the enforcer when the referees wouldn't do their job. She became the voice when everyone else stayed silent. That viral moment wasn't just about basketball. It was about justice, loyalty, and standing up for what's right even when it costs you. So the next time you see that viral fight, remember what you really witnessed. You saw Sophie Cunningham risk her career to defend her teammate. You saw a player put principles over politics. You saw a hero in action. The WNBA tried to bury this story, but Sophie just exposed it all. And now you know the truth about the most important fight in women's basketball history. What do you think? Was Sophie right to defend Clark? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe because we're just getting started with exposing the truth about the WNBA.